you move to the next little, this was really my first map that I created.
Hello, I'm Sam Ferrazzano coming to you recorded from sunny West Georgetown, the vacation paradise of South Seattle. Here at Equinox Studio, where dreams are born from the miraculous minds of 130 artists and artisans, baptized in the fire of industry and polished to perfection in a community of geniuses. Everything from painting, photography, woodworking, metalworking, ceramics, glass, movies, music, 2 dance companies, 2 painting schools, and fire. If you can imagine it, it's being done here. I want to welcome you to our very virtual open house, which is very, very hot, which is made possible by the generous contributions of the crazy and mad Zoom-in electronic skills of the Iron Monkeys and the terrifically technical triumvirate of EQTV. The truly triumphant Tabasco, the community kick in the pants K, and the wildly wacky and wondrous work. Thank you oh so much for all of the time and efforts and creativity you've invested in this evening's festivities. I also want to thank the incredible LX Bazaar, who has masterminded the most magnificently magical new Equinox Studios website, where you can go to find anything and everything Equinox. Search artists and mediums, people and places, events and extravaganzas. So, when you just can't get enough of Equinox, or you want to dig deeper, head on back to Equinox Studios and dive right in. Now, on to the fun for tonight. We are here to open our house and your minds and your hearts to the spring of wonder here at the Creative Industrial Complex. In 2006, a few scrappy young artists unloaded a truck full of tools, materials, and possibilities. We plunked down in each of our corners in the big blue building and set to work creating Equinox Studios. Now, 14 years wiser, older and achier, and more creative, we as a community have grown to about 130 artists and artisans and have managed to build Equinox into almost 100,000 square feet of workspace in 4 different buildings on 5th Avenue and are starting to spread out into the rest of Georgetown. We have also managed to become the first and only that we know of 100% tenant owned and operated by 100% tenant owned and owned by 100% of the tenants complex of buildings in the world. That collective ownership and community spirit spawns all kinds of wondrous happenings, from inspiring each other every day in collaboration, cross-pollination, co-inspiration, and co-perspiration, to inspiring the public with things like monthly art walks and the neighborhood, and creating all manners of wild, wacky art-making experiences for kids of all ages at the Georgetown Carnival. And yes, to inspiring you at our very open house, usually on the coldest, most bitter, nasty night of the year, but so warm and bright with poetry and bonfires, iron pours, music, poetry, dance, fire painting, and of course, the mighty Schmackamer. So, grab your drink, make yourself at home, pretend you're freezing your ass off, imagine the smoke in your eyes, the crowds of people, the marching band, and the amazing art and music, dance and poetry, the street full of blue lights, the heat of the bonfire on your face, and the feeling of being part of something much bigger than yourself. Welcome to the Equinox Studios very virtual open house. We are so glad you're here. Enjoy the show. Hot metal! Hot metal! Woo!
You just want to throw one in too?
Woo! Good job, Emma. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That was awesome.
Spectacular.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Equinox Studios, Wandering with Kay and Work. I'm Work.
I'm Kay.
And we're, doing some Zoom to get as much art as we can, see as many artists in all nooks and crannies of the world or of Equinox as safely as possible. Kay, who do we have right now? Where are we going? Tell me about it.
Yeah, we're going to go see Michelle Smith-Lewis.
Amazing.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi. Hi, guys.
Michelle, tell us a little bit about what you're up to right now. I remember we were in your studio a couple of months ago. You were working on some big floor pieces, but what's going on now?
Well, now I'm just kind of figuring out how to get through the COVID thing and getting out there with new stuff and adding new things to my business. Today we are spending time in my studio for everyone to see my space and see some of the work that I create. I am a performing arts and fine art photographer. I have a strong background in dance, theater, and music. I've been doing that for over 25 years. And since COVID, I've added some new stuff to my repertoire.
Nice.
And so I'm adding branding to my photography. So I'm gearing that towards artists and small businesses and corporations. And basically, I'm helping people photograph, do their headshots or their portraits. I have been documenting artists' gallery shows and photographing individual art pieces so that my clients will have something to share on their social media, their website, or perfect for grant writing, because a lot of times they want a portrait or, what your pieces look like, or, a show that you did. So I'm developing packages for that for my clientele. So, and that goes into corporate photography as well. But right now I'm focusing on helping artists out with photography.
Excellent. I see you got so much equipment back there.
Yes. And a lot of it's hiding too. So.
Very cool. What's a piece that you've really taken a lot of fun direction on right now, or what's something that you're looking forward to working on more?
Well, actually, what John is showing right now is a project that I've been working on for the past couple of years, and it's an ongoing project. It's called the Identity Project, and it's all Pacific Northwest dancers, and so I've been working on that. So that's one of a project I'm in love with. It represents it's my identity as a photographer. But yeah, right now I've got a lot of Seattle folks. I got a Bellingham person, East Side person. So I'm developing outside of Washington State. But this is an ongoing project. This will never end. So so I've been photographing that.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
very nice.
And then other projects during winter time, I'm going to be working on some new wet plate collodion work, which is the stuff in the back.
I was going to say, will you explain that to those of us plebes who have no idea what that means?
Yes. So basically, it's the wet plate collodion process. It is a process. So I do a lot of historic processes. And these are tin types. And it was the same photography that was used during the Civil War period. So I don't know if you guys remember the little cases. Sometimes those are tin types, sometimes they're ambrotypes, and sometimes they're daguerreotypes. These behind me are tin types. So this winter, I am going to be working on a new series of my dried poppies, because I love poppies. So it's a wet plate. It's called the wet plate process because from start to finish, it's wet. It goes in your camera wet, and I'm hoping to do a demo for a future art walk event because it's a very laborious process. But basically, you have to coat your plate, then you sensitize your plate, and then you expose it in your camera, and then you develop it, and then you dry it. So it sounds like it's really easy, but that's just basic steps. But it takes a lot of time to do, and they're very fragile, but they are amazing. So I'll eventually do a demo of those in the future. But I
would not apply the word sounds easy to what you just explained.
It's not at all. But I fell in love with this process, and I've been doing it for many, many years now. But yeah, so, and those eventually be available for the upcoming event.
Excellent.
So, and also I've been doing a lot of cyanotypes. And of course, you can see some of my old pieces from several years ago. And I have a little surprise. I'm going to be giving a demo after this interview. So, yes, so we're going to head over to my home studio and I will show you this process.
Amazing.
Yes, so it's a fun and easy process. I actually like breaking it. So if I'm having a tough time with my collodion, I'll just break out some cyanotypes just to chill out and relax because they're super easy and fun to do. And actually, it's a great project that you can do with kids, especially during COVID. But you know,
nice.
when there's sun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that demonstration, I'm sure we'll have access to it, you know, through our wells. But is that going to be on your website as well, or you know, where is it farther reaching?
I think this will probably go back onto the Equinox website under my profile. So yeah.
Perfect. Right on. We've
before-
got your information. Oh, sorry, Kay.
You know, no, I think I was cutting you off with what you were just about to say, Work. I was just going to say, before we go and watch that demo, you said you're doing brand work for artists. Are you taking new clients if people are looking for that kind of work?
Yes.
Can they get a hold of you?
Yes, they can get a hold of me at
Nice job, Jonathan. Good job, camera guy. Well timed.
Yes. So you can email me at michelle@msmithlewis.com. Thank you, John.
Yeah, that was really well done, dude.
Very
So
cool.
yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Well, it all looks fantastic as always.
Yeah.
Coming in, you know, staring at everything, and the was it the Identity series? Is that what it was called? Yeah.
Yes. The Identity Project. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that as well. Just seeing like, you know, what everybody's giving to their own shoot as well. I think it would be.
Oh yes,
fun
yes,
to do,
yes.
You know, I don't have, or at least I would say, I'm sure many artists say the same thing. I don't have much identity as an artist, but I love seeing other people do it.
But you do.
You know,
we all do. And with this project, that's where I discovered, I'm like, wait a minute, this is about me too. It's about how I photograph people that, I mean, my dance images are completely different than a lot of other people's dance images.
Totally.
So this is not really a traditional way of dance imagery. A lot of times it's the white or gray background and it's all pretty. And
Oh, right.
I love that raw feeling. And I need to share that I have photographed 2 Equinox artists in this project. So Dana Hansen from bass and Stella Kuntz from
Yeah.
I'm like trying to look for her picture. So
Yeah.
yes.
That's fantastic. Artists serving artists.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, oh yeah, and Peggy is in the series too, but not on the wall yet. So, and Peggy is from bass as well.
Nice.
Yes. So I guess keeping it in the family. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to check out the demo coming up for sure. I think any questions I have will probably come up like later tonight when I'm sleeping. But Kay, do you have anything to add at the moment?
I don't, other than saying thanks so much for giving us a tour around your studio. It's always great to see you and your work.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you have to say before we switch over to your demo? To the people
No.
or to the world in general? Or
I am so grateful for you guys doing this. So thank you very much. Thank you, Tabasco. And please, everybody out there, help support your local artist. This is an amazing time and we're all struggling, all of us. But I think if we all come together, we're going to get through this. So power to the people. All right. Thank you so much for doing this. And off to my demo.
Wonderful. Thanks so much.
thank you.
Hi, guys. I'm going to teach you how to make one of these. Hi. 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 Excellent.
Welcome to my cyanotype demo. In this video, I will take you through each step of the cyanotype process. This is the same photographic process I used to create the 1,570 panels for the friendship gown. Supplies include chemistry, you can purchase raw or pre-mixed, watercolor paper or fabric, trays, brushes, a paper safe for storage, a contact print frame or floating picture frame, and a timer. Of course, latex gloves and an apron should be worn. You can also purchase pre-coated papers or fabrics. The first step is to coat the paper ahead of time, usually a day or two before using it. The chemistry is sensitive to daylight, so I coat my paper at night under low light conditions. Working under fluorescent light or tungsten light is fine. For demo purposes only, I'm coating during the day so that you can see the process. With a regular brush or a sponge brush, make even strokes in both directions with the chemistry. Allow the paper to dry overnight. When dry, store the paper in a paper safe until you are ready to use it. Now for the fun part, making cyanotypes. The only thing you need now is the sun and some objects. I use plants and leaves from my garden. For the demo, I'm using the floating picture frame, my coated fabric, and dried leaves from my collection. In a shaded area, I place my fabric on the backboard, then add my dried leaves. When I organize everything, I then place the plexiglass over the leaves and secure it with the binder clips. Place your piece in a sunny area for exposure. Times will vary depending on the season and time of day. During the fall-winter seasons, the exposures tend to be longer. I'll start at 20 minutes and make adjustments if need be. More than 20 minutes have gone by, you can see the color changes during the exposure. And now I'm heading over to my first wash. In my first wash, I added a little hydrogen peroxide to add a little contrast. This is where the magic happens. We went from a yellow-green coated paper to a slate blue during the exposure, then to a Prussian blue during the wash. I'll leave my paper or fabric in the wash for about 2 to 5 minutes. The second wash is with running water for about 20 minutes. You want to make sure to remove any unexposed chemistry. Take your prints out of the wash. If you're using fabric, just give it a good wring. You'll need to squeegee your paper to remove the excess water. Hang both paper and fabric to dry. These are the samples I made during the filming of this demo. I want to thank you for spending time with me today. Please support your local artists, artisans, performers, and small business owners this holiday season. Wishing you the best.
Well, I learned something there, Work. How about you?
Man, I love seeing the behind the scenes of how things are put together, you know?
Right? This is one of those moments when you want to see how the sausage is made.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which
Everybody mark it on your chalkboard. One win for 2020.
win. Trying to
All
think
right.
of sausage grinding proverbs now. And
Well, why don't you think about that while we go to a commercial break?
and we'll be right back with these messages.
Sure we will.
Hey everybody, welcome back. We're at Paper Studios right here, and we're about to say hi to everybody, including an adorable puppy face. Puppies are very important for art, aren't they? Aww.
We say
How's it
that
going?
this is our studio assistant, Louie.
Studio assistant Louie.
Yes.
How
Oh, sorry.
adorable.
Yep. He's very enthusiastic, which is great.
As we all are. Art's amazing, isn't it?
Yes.
Great. So for new viewers out there,
yes.
why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us what you're all about.
Okay. No problem. So I'm Tiffany Day. I'm a painter here at Equinox Studios. I am a transplant of the Dorchon Atelier. I studied there as a student, and then now I'm an instructor. I know, it's some more American. How sweet. Yeah. So I very much like love that community, and I love that I can kind of be part of both Equinox and Gauge as a member.
Amazing.
Yeah. So that's kind of the background of it. I specifically paint oil paintings, and I would say that you could qualify or categorize them, if you will, as imaginative realism, which I suppose you could also say magical realism or magical or fantastical or many, many other things.
Sure.
Within the art realm, that's so difficult to sort of say, but they oftentimes have a fantastical kind of quality to them. Whimsical is often as well.
Very
and
nice.
yeah. The main thing that I think I'm trying to achieve when I'm painting them or composing them is something that I said last time, which was I'm chasing curiosity. So oftentimes I think that they're asking questions. And I don't necessarily know that any of them will ever have answers to those questions. And I think that that's one of the best things about questions that are really good questions, is there isn't really an answer to them. And so I think for this time, I wanted to show you that I have a finished painting that I've just done that you only saw the underpainting to last time. And so we'll come over here. So that's this piece. And it was all just pink underpainting last time. And so it's of a local model here. And we're actually doing a shoot for something that was a totally different piece that was going to be about the fates and whether or not they existed. And that's asking about fate in general. But it was going to be like a three-person giant sort of epic painting in that regard. And then I just was looking through, like, we went out to Vashon Island and we shot pictures, and I was looking through them, and one of them had this expression, like I had to zoom in quite far, and it was just so painful because I wanted the fates piece to sort of reflect the chaos of the times when it's asking the question about, is it fate that this is happening? It's like, why? It's really the underlying question to all of that, right? And so I don't know, it was something about her expression. And I think it was because I was asking her to think about all of the things that were happening at the moment. And it was just one of those things where it's like, that's a painting, right? That moment you see that image, it's like inspiration has hit, like that's a postcard flash in your head, like light bulbs are going off. And yeah, absolutely. I was really, it was like in the time that I like had zoomed in on this picture, it was like a couple of days until the painting underpainting stage. And so yeah, I'm calling it Sad Eyes, and I think I really wanted to paint it big. I even considered doing it bigger than this. Like I told you guys last time too, is that I had done one that was portrait, and that was so painful. And then this was the opposite side, and I had never painted something this large.
Oh, wow.
And so that was really fun to do. But I wanted you to not be able to ignore her. You know, sometimes I think we can shy away from the pain of things, and you can kind of like easily just like disassociate almost. And so I wanted it to be like, nope, you're here and you're sitting with her, and we're kind of empathizing, and we're asking her why, you know, and things. So so that's kind of this particular piece. It's got some gold leafing along the edge that is a little messy at the moment, so I'm going to kind of clean that up. But it's actually headed to a gallery in Colorado called A Bend, and so they're having a figurative show in January, so it's going to go to them. So I'm really happy.
Amazing.
This like feels like an accomplishment.
Yeah, from start to finish. That's
absolutely
great. No, I like it a lot. It definitely, you know, it's like you're about to have a conversation. She's got a lot to say.
Absolutely, yeah, and I love that. You know, I'm as a woman, I have a lot to say, so I'm very happy when other women do too, because I think some of the most meaningful conversations come from those people who aren't given the opportunity to speak quite often. You know, and so
absolutely.
Hooray for that. I think that's probably an underlying thing with a lot of my work. I do paint a lot of women in general. And so I think, you know, actually even these two pieces over here, they're almost like so there's three up on the wall, but these two that are on the left are of these two women. And the questions that those two are asking specifically are about the ideal when it comes to women and beauty. And they're almost on opposite ends of the spectrum. One of them has like this editorial, like high fashion kind of feel.
For sure.
And then the other one feels almost like more traditional, like goddess kind of feeling. But what I love about it is that there's like underlying concepts underneath the two of them. So like this editorial one, she's like literally wasting away and she's so thin, her dress is like hanging on her, and
For sure.
there's like garbage underneath the dress as well, that
I
it's
didn't
just
even
like
notice that.
there's so many things that it's like, just because it looks like it's the ideal now, there's like underlying things that are like quite wrong or alarm bells. And then this other one that is like, it's very traditionally beautiful, but what I loved about it was that it's a collaboration, and that I didn't take a photo for it. It's well, some of these I don't do, and some of these I do locally, but
Sure.
for this particular piece, it was this art model Shannon that I follow her on Instagram, and she just had these beautiful poses of her, and she's like I think in her late 40s, early 50s, but she's also a plus size woman, and so she just like takes all of these amazing self-portrait photos, and it was like, wow, no one really paints her as the like traditional beauty, right? It's always like a very young maiden that is like specifically kind of, yeah, exactly, like we all can picture that beauty, like even the Botticelli's Venus is that exact portrayal, right? And so this was my way of showing that like a woman that is older, that is like gorgeous and also plus size, can be this like goddess. And so celebrating that as well in sort of opposition to what the beauty is in so many ways. And so
for sure,
I think, yeah, the pieces for me have a lot, I do a lot of planning and they have a lot of concept underneath. I'm not quite the let's see what happens.
Right.
I very much know what I'm going to be painting as soon as I sort of get into it. But
definitely. Well, I mean,
yeah.
you know, great ideas. It's all turning out really well. For sure.
Yeah. And then that piece on the right is called Burning, but I really think it should have just been like called 2020. Yeah.
Well, with the sort of two extreme, I don't know the extremes of beauty, but two
Sure.
Ends of beauty. I like that with the one, the face is obscured or kind of, you said wasting away, the whole thing's wasting, but you can't connect with the person. It's not as real. She's not as real. She doesn't really have like a exact face. And then the other, you're looking into, the faces, eyes are the window of the soul, the kind of things. That's a nice juxtaposition as well.
Absolutely. And I think there's something to be said about the female gaze as well, and like versus the male gaze in art. I think that that's a conversation that's so interesting, that traditionally the male gaze is the thing that has been celebrated. And then when it comes to even the amount of work of men in museums over time as like a historical collection of this is what we value.
Right.
It's mainly work that is been done from the male perspective, and it's like a 2%-ish, of museum work is done by women, even in the last like 100 years. It's insane to me. This is not, this is also modern times. I think it's the Baltimore Museum of Art that actually decided they were going to take a year and only accept women into their new collection, because they were like trying to figure out how to tip the scales. And I think that a lot of that is because we're still valuing the male gaze, right? In terms of it's like there's more women painters out there than there are men, but we value the male gaze more. So there's like that disparity in terms of the celebration of the work. And so I think her interacting with you, like it can feel like that pose can be really like come hither almost in a way, because it's like you're really seeing a lot of her body, but it's like there's nothing that's necessarily like sexual about it. It's like a power in her own body. And there's something about that I think is really worth exploring too, because you could very easily over sexualize that pose in like different ways, right? But just because a woman is posed in that way doesn't mean it has to be sexual, and even understanding sort of that subtlety and difference, I think is cool.
Definitely.
I have a lot to say, like I said.
Yeah, no,
we could have a lot of like tea and hang out.
For sure. And well, I don't know, if this were a different year, there would be a few thousand people here. We wouldn't have time for tea, but
we certainly have wine at those events. And then I talk even more than I do.
Next year, we'll put it on the calendar for sure. And then tell me what Kay's looking over at some of your smaller portraits, and it looks like you've got some like little purses or bags and some other stuff. We've got your information on the screen as we do, and I assume at least some of this stuff is for sale, but tell me about what you've got going on.
Sure. Yeah, we wanted to show the different types of merch that we normally do. So this is basically what our setup would be like during the regular event.
For
and
sure.
So we have tote bags that are, all of this is on the website. So just tiffanyday.com/shop. And we have tote bags. We have like little pencil bags or makeup bags. We've got back here, we have canvas prints that are very close to the original, but they're limited edition. So they come framed, and we'll only make 100 of those, like in that particular style. Or if those are too expensive, you know, so if you want something kind of in between an original and a paper print, those are a good option. And then we have regular paper prints that are over here by Kay that are
very nice.
That are on like an archival matte paper that are done by the Color Group. That's like a local print shop. So yeah, that's something I really hate, that art is a luxury item. It's one of the things that hurts me most, because I am a very normal person and I don't necessarily want to cater to people whom are very wealthy, you know, exclusively. That's something that I think is really kind of tragic, because I know a lot of people have said their phrase to me, like, I don't get art, or like, I don't know how anything about art. And it's like, I'm normal, you know, I'm making art for you. If you have eyes, like that is the extension of the like prerequisites, you know. It's like we all have a visual language. Like if you like movies, then like you're gonna get something, you know. It's like if you can feel anything sort of from it. And anything that I have, all of my like underlying concepts in the work, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you have to take away from it. Like I've definitely painted things, and then the person that has bought the painting has been like, nope, none of that is true for me. So I'm going to take it for this totally separate reason. And it's like a
whole other dialogue about what they see in it. That's
exactly. And it just means that it's relating to them on some other way. And that's amazing. You know, that's incredible to me. And coolest things is like that connection that you make with that person. And so that is actually the reason that I started painting, was that when I actually started painting shoes when I was in college, like canvas shoes, like to help me pay for my dorm. And so I would just like take custom designs from that, and then I would just like edit them a little bit, you know, and spruce them up a little with acrylic. And it was just like when you present the shoe to that person, like you've just pushed their idea just slightly, and then they're like, what, you know. And so that was the first time I ever felt a connection through artwork with someone. And it was like, oh, you know, and then addicted from that one. And now we're like 8 years later or something. And it's like, okay.
Amazing.
So yeah, that's kind of we're just doing it on a larger scale now. It's really, yeah.
I dig it. For sure.
Yeah. Cool.
He's looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah, all those are great. The print quality is really good. It's cool that they come framed. That's something I always, you know, I buy like some of the smaller prints because like you're saying, you know, as a regular person, it's kind of all I can afford sometimes. And then I have to go and think about that too. And whatever.
Absolutely.
So that's, you know, that's nice.
Totally.
Very cool.
Yeah, and that's like one of the things is that we actually do payment plans for most of our paintings as well. Cool. Is that it's like for our originals in particular, it's that like these are thousands of dollars. Like I do not, you know, have that sitting around in my particular bank account to drop on art at any moment. So it's like we have a payment plan that we have like a contract, and it's 3 years, and you just have to pay it off within 3 years. But like no other real specifications. So it's kind of like trying to be as flexible as possible with a person, because again, I don't want to create any barriers. Can't have something that they've really connected to, right? Because the connection is kind of the point.
Definitely.
Yeah, my ultimate goal is that I have a Patreon page, and it's $3 a month to subscribe to that. And then, cool, absolutely. So it's like that, and then I give away something every single month. And my goal is that like one day that would become enough that I would be able to just give all my paintings away to the patrons, because it's like I'm not super here to like have paintings that no one can afford. You know, I really would like to have the connection, and then it's just like, oh, but the living expenses, you know, like those pesky things. If we could cover those, you know, but then with the crowdsourcing, it really makes it affordable, that it's like I've given away a couple of oil paintings on there that were hundreds of dollars, and then the person that won had to pay $3, you know, or like even over the course of a year, they're paying what, like, please don't make me do 53 52 times 3. I can't do that. It's
I won't-
150
I won't.
something ish,
Totally.
right? Yeah, in that neighborhood. But even so, right? And so that's kind of the goal, if I could dare to dream so boldly.
Definitely. No, I agree.
Sir, can I borrow your mic for just 1 second?
So Tabasco wants to buy a bunch of your stuff.
Okay.
I'm getting little messages about we should buy those things. But we also want to give a shout out to you, Tiffany Day. Tiffany did the blue bordering
Oh.
around all the screens you've been seeing tonight. And it was a huge help.
Well,
And so we want to just give a big shout out to you. Thank you for putting your talents to the Equinox Studios greater cause, because it makes a big difference. It looks really beautiful. So
well, that's
we
so
just wanted to say
kind.
thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's happy to help. You guys are sort of astonishing to me, all the amount of time, like you're going to do this 5 nights in a row. So I'm just like very grateful to you as well. Yeah, thank you.
We're glad to be here.
You could buy a little help from our friends.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
That's one of the most beautiful things about being here. I've been here nearly 5 years now, Equinox, and it's like I never meet anybody that is like not willing to just totally put down their whole load and help you. It's like really, really incredible.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Huzzah.
It's a special place. I think if I didn't come to Equinox when I moved to Seattle, shortly after I moved to Seattle, I probably wouldn't be living in Seattle now.
Right, me too. Actually, I came from Florida, and so my family lives there, and I moved with Jesus. And it was like, okay, I came to study at the Georgetown Atelier, and my plan was to move back when I was done. And then there's an Equinox studio open, and it was like, or I could teach and stay here and then buy a house for my way and then never go back to Florida. And that is what's happening now.
There you go.
Yeah, and now we're expanding. There are more of us now. This is
I'm
Louis.
excited. Oh
This is Louis' office.
Oh,
Puppy.
such cute. Amazing.
Sorry
Well,
if you get all tied up.
It's always great to be here. I love your stuff. I probably,
Yeah, no, me too. Yeah.
I mean, that's what they're for, right?
Puppy, yeah.
I might even look into a payment kind of thing. I really like the payment plan idea for art. It makes so much sense. It's amazing that you have the idea and the capacity to work on that.
Absolutely. There's like, it's like it's trickier when you're showing with galleries because a lot of times they won't offer that, but it's like,
Sure.
Yeah, if I ever have the opportunity to do that, because that's the only way that I've ever been able to buy a painting, and it's like, I mean, don't get me wrong, all of these hang in my living room and my dining room. Like that's how I decorate my house.
Sure.
That's like they're here, but it's like, that's really, I want art to be for everybody.
Mhm.
And oftentimes people, I think the world at large doesn't often think it is. They expect to go to Target and buy like a live left, like we talked about the dreaded live left. It's like really when people want to decorate, they like go to a mega store and like find something there, like IKEA and everything, Marshall, right? How many times do you see all those? And it's like, but there are real people that are making things that connect with you, and you could see something that could make you feel good about yourself every day when you wake up in the morning, right? And it's like, come do that with me. Absolutely. Let's figure it out.
It's powerful and it feels better and it will be in your home for years. That's amazing. Awesome. Yeah. Well, it's so good to talk to you. Do you have any closing words? We're gonna do a commercial from another Equinox artist, but we've got your information, we've got your makeup bags, we've got your prints, we've got your originals. It's all really great.
Oh, thanks so much.
Yeah,
I just have to say thank you. Yeah, just a lot of gratitude. This year has been so hard for everybody, but the support that I've been shown is really incredible. And so I'm just happy. So thanks.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Happy to have you here.
Cool.
And we can just keep looking at all the stuff forever. To the commercials, Tabasco, whenever you are ready.
All right, here we are. Still / yet again at the Equinox Studios very virtual open house. It's a delight to be here.
Absolutely.
We are doing this clearly in a Zoom fashion because we wanted to make sure we got as many Equinox artists some screen time, some art time as we possibly could. So we are excited right now to be hanging out with Alia Gupta. And she's going to introduce us to herself and her space, and then we'll look at some rad art. So, hi, Alia.
Hey, Kay. Hey, work. How are you guys doing?
Great.
It's another beautiful day in Seattle.
It is. It's been really gorgeous this afternoon. And I have to say, I'm happy to be in the studio today. It's been a while. There've been times when I'm in the studio and then I'm not because of work. But today feels really good because the sunlight was streaming in and I was just channeling all our very open house events in the past and thinking about the pros and cons of doing this on Zoom. The best thing is my family and friends across the globe are going to be able to tune in and see this, right? That's what an asset that is.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, we're going global. So that's how I see it.
Yes, Equinox to the world, baby.
Yes.
So where are you at in Equinox Studios?
So I am in the factory building in Studio 201, right up the steps. So when you come into the building with the golden eggs on top, I'm up inside and up the steps and the first door that you walk into.
Very cool.
Yes, you are. And it's so nice. Well, so what do you do? What's your art? Will you show us some of what you've got up or what you're working on?
Yes, I will. In fact, I set up a bunch of pieces in my studio that I feel like we'll have a conversation with each other, right? They have a connection in different ways. And I have to give a big shout out to my son, Keon, who is my cameraman here and is doing all the fun stuff of walking around and showing my work at its best. So thank you, Keon.
Thank you, Keon.
So this first piece that you see is part of my map series. And it's a very, very long piece. And it took a lot of work to do because if you see all of the map structures on there, they're all burnt. I use a burning tool on mulberry paper, kind of like a hot pencil, right? So I draw with it and as the heat touches the paper just melts away. And so it's a really interesting process. I discovered it a while back, a few years ago, when I was in a residency program in Wyoming, actually. But these pieces are about maps, and maps are things that guide us, get us from point A to point B or help us understand the structure or the layout of a city. These maps are a little different. So these are more about memory maps, right? They're maps that exist in our hearts, but nowhere else, right? So these are maps that, for me, so if you think about going somewhere a long time ago and you have a sense of that space, the map, the landscape, the setting, and then you revisit it, say 20 years later, and it's a very different space, right? And maps are like that. Maps get written and rewritten over time. And I'm really interested in that idea of the maps as they are now and how we remember them from, say, 20 years ago. So it's actually a very interesting experience when I was in Salt Lake Union recently. Now, I go to Salt Lake Union, I used to go fairly frequently because my husband works there. And I felt like I was in a different land because of all the building that's been going on, right?
Right.
So all the markers and the kind of the place, the references, the visual references have changed. And so, but my memory of Salt Lake Union from 4 years ago or 5 years ago is that's what's etched in my brain. And I drove into Salt Lake Union and it was like, wow, I don't recognize this place anymore, right? And it's kind of the similar idea with these maps is that we are holding these ideas based on memory of a place, and those are not necessarily what the actual current maps look like, right? So Kian, if you move to the next little map, this was really my first map that I created. And it's a teeny little guy. And if you see the metal on top that it's hanging from, that metal is really special. It has a lot of history. I was at on the coast in Willapa Bay, and I found a few years ago, I found this pile of scrap metal that had washed up from the sea. And it was incredible to walk through and sift through all those metal pieces and find these fragments, right? I had no idea where they came from, right? Or what they were originally, but they have so much history to them. And that was just resonated with me a lot. And so I started incorporating metal, these found metal objects or shards in my work, because it just kind of adds to the richness of that story of history, right? So yeah, and I'm obsessed with rust. So rust is such a beautiful element. And so I'm really excited to incorporate rust into my work too.
I love these pieces, and I think we've talked about this before, that like the detail of it, the delicacy of something that represents something so even if temporarily permanent, or even if just in your brain as a permanent space, like, you know, it's almost like doilies, like it's almost this knitted together memory.
Yeah.
And the delicacy of it, along with the rust and the strength and the history of that metal piece, is such a great juxtaposition of permanence and temporariness,
right,
intention and accident. They're gorgeous.
Hey, you hit the nail on the head, you know, and one of the things I was really also thinking about was this heaviness of metal, right? Like, and metal is hard, and it's hard to break, and, you know, and while the paper is fragile and can be ripped. Though I have to say, having worked with this paper for a while now, I'm impressed at how strong it is, that even that I can burn it and it still holds, right? So that's also another interesting thing about how these fibers just hold together. And I've been really interested in that strength and fragility of the paper.
You were saying, oh, I'm sorry. You were saying mulberry paper. What kind of paper is that?
So so mulberry paper, the mulberry fibers, the paper is made of mulberry fibers, and I experimented a lot with different kinds of paper and burning, and mulberry is very light, and it burns beautifully. So when I touch the paper with my burning tool, the paper just melts away, right? It doesn't light on fire. Like there's some paper, you touch the burning tool to it and it kind of just falls apart. But this is kind of incredible because it just melts away and it holds its form in most part. And then when it doesn't, there are these accidents that are these beautiful, happy accidents, which I love. You know, that's part of the process, right, of making art.
For sure.
So what is the tool that you're using? Are you using like a soldering iron or something more fine than that?
Yeah, and I can grab it. Hold on a second.
We will hold.
This guy.
That was very fast.
That's right there on my work tool.
Okay.
Right, so this guy has a really fine tip, and that's what I use. And I have to be careful with it because I can just destroy something really quickly. So you kind of figure out the balance of it. And talking about fragility, I actually wanted to move on to the next section. And Kiana's going to walk over to my middle wall in my studio, because there's a piece that is part of the same map series, and it's different in that it's much larger, and I have a layer of porcelain slip on it, so it's basically liquid clay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, I'm lucky. I have a studio neighbor, Sarah Kay, who's awesome, and she is a fabulous ceramicist. And the beauty of being in a community like Equinox is that you get to play with your neighbor's things. So,
exactly.
Sarah, right? And so Sarah brought me over a bunch of slip one day because we were talking about process and experiments. And I started brushing the porcelain slip over paper to see what it would happen. And it got really interesting because it coats and the paper holds it in some places. And then once it dries in other places, it sloughs off, right? So it becomes the textures become really beautiful. It's almost like elephant hide in parts, right? That wrinkly surface, which I love. And then in parts, it's holding on really quite strong. But one of the reasons this piece is really interesting to me and this process is that over time, more and more of that slip will fall off, right? It is pretty fragile, right? Every time I move it, some pieces just drop off, right? And so in 5 years from now, there may not be any slip on it, but so it's kind of an ongoing process with that particular piece, right? It's changing and evolving over time. So I'm really interested to see what happens like a couple of years from now, how much is still on there and what the history of that slip is on the surface of the paper, right? So it's a similar process. I burned all the holes in there, and then when the slip was brushed on, some of the paper just kind of squiggled up and squished up and did some interesting folds, right? And so it's become has a little more dimension to it, and that's also been really fun for me.
Very cool.
I see that definitely playing in with the fragility and the temporary permanence of the other map pieces that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I definitely see the map quality in that, but maybe expanding more from a literal sense of like streets and blocks into spaces and voids, and how that holds our memory in our space. That's a great piece. And I love the color in it. Like, I think elephant is a good like palette genre for that. Like with the grays and the ashy whites.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool.
Yeah. And so, I continued experimenting with the porcelain slip. And so, Kian, if you want to walk over all the way to the right, I have a couple of pieces up there that are very different, but have the same kind of concept, right? Conceptually, they're about maps, but this is more like if you think about aerial, if you're in a plane looking down, for example, on farmland or whatever you're flying over. And I was thinking of, how land gets, the shapes on the land, right? When you're looking down on it, and how interesting that is. And even when you're over a city and you're looking at all the blocks of the city from up above. And so I coated my paper, the printed paper that I have there. Those are all block prints that I've made over time. And then I coated them with the slip and assembled them. And it's the same thing, right? Like as you're assembling them, some of the slip kind of powders off. And there's this delicacy there when you get up close, because you see little bits of slip just clinging on. And then there are broader swaths of slip that are quite fine and happy there, right? And some parts are really crumbly. And that's kind of what our land is like, right? And so it was also interesting for me that I'm using clay on paper when I'm actually also thinking and working with this idea of looking down on land. So that felt for me like a nice juxtaposition again.
I love this. I love the transition, like the growth from the first piece to the last piece to this series.
Mm-hmm.
Different ways to examine land and space. And again, I love these colors. I'm not a muted tone girl. Like, I like black and red, but I'm really digging the color and the earthiness of how that looks.
Yeah, and what's interesting is I'm not a muted tone gal either. Like if you come to my house, my walls are a bright yellow and orange and green. But in my palette in my studio, it tends to be quite different. And these pieces, like the sections of paper that are coated with slip and assembled here, each have a lot more vibrancy, underneath that slip. So that's also an interesting thing for me to see over time if that vibrancy ever starts poking out from once the slip kind of disintegrates.
Mm.
So these are, a lot of times we talk as artists about archival quality. Well, none of my work has any archival quality to it. Because I'm really interested in melding materials that are not necessarily archival, but are interesting, right?
Definitely.
So Kian, if you want to move left a little bit, these are some works in progress. Kay, in work you saw an iteration of this last time, and as I've come in periodically to the studio, I've just been adding to it, and then one piece became two pieces. They're pretty different, but I'm still kind of just adding to them and playing with them whenever I come in. They're by no means finished, and I'm really, again, playing with a slightly different variation of a map idea. I've been really thinking about excavation sites, old archaeological excavations, and looking at them, at images of them, because you see all these beautiful remnants of old walls and steps and tiles, and I'm just really, really fascinated by again looking at history that's been revealed over time, right? And so I've been thinking about that and building up these little pieces, with that in my mind. So I'm really curious and interested to see where this goes. I think these will get bigger, but it's hard to tell. So right now I'm playing with color, and again, it feels like a very quiet palette here again. And it might get a little wilder over time. I don't know yet. So stay tuned for the next time, right?
All right.
Yeah, so Kian, I think we'll go to the last segment now.
I love this tour. This is great.
Yeah.
Thank you. So this wall is the series called Palimpsest. And these are pieces that have evolved over time again. And I was really thinking about peeling back layers of history. That's kind of what this piece is about. And if you think about the land that you stand on, right, there's so many layers underneath it. And if you, as I think I've said before, if you go to Pioneer Square, there's a whole city under the streets and sidewalks there, right?
Right.
But we don't think about those spaces underground. And so here, what I'm thinking about is like physically peeling back layers, and what would those layers look like? And often, over time, layers get compressed, right? And they get fused together, they become one glommy thing. And you don't know where things start and where things end, right? And so, and things are fragmented. I'm really interested in the idea of fragmentation too. And so the idea here is really like I'm excavating these layers and finding and repairing, in a sense, attaching things to each other to make more sense. And a lot of these pieces have mesh in the back of them. Sometimes the mesh is visible, sometimes it's not. But I loved working in this way because it was so intuitive for me. And I'm not a person who does a lot of pre-drawing or sketching. And I really work kind of with the materials and the process, let the process kind of develop as it goes. So this was a really fun time for me to do these pieces, because again, I could really play with a bunch of color and a bunch of texture and, have fun with it. They're all paper, and they're assembled and mounted on a panel. So that you can, if you get up close, you can see the layers of paper kind of sitting on each other.
Yeah. And that's the same mulberry paper?
No, this is a different paper. It's a heavier mulberry. It's also mulberry, but it's a heavier paper, so it can take the ink and the wash and I use actually a process called, these are all made out of wood blocks. So the paper that you're seeing that's been cut up and it's all wood block, and I use a technique, it's a Japanese technique called mokuhanga, which is, instead of using printing ink on your wood blocks and printing with that, I paint the wood blocks with gouache or with watercolor. And so you can get lots of layers of beautiful color and texture, right? So as you see, these pieces are pretty heavily textured because they've been printed over and over and over again till I get where I want to be on that surface, right? And it's really fun because it's like painting. I'm a painter at heart, right? That's my background. And so I feel like I'm melding painting and printmaking here in these pieces, and that's very exciting for me.
Very nice. Yeah, I like this set a lot.
Me too. I love it as a whole body of work. It's great. It really tells a story.
Oh, thank you.
Well, is any of this for sale? Are there ways people can give you money either for this or in other fashions?
Money is welcome anytime, Kay.
You're not the first artist to say that.
No, so I do have a website, and of course I'm on the new Equinox website, which is so exciting that it's launched. And my contact information is available in both those spaces. And my email is available, so people can email me. That's the easiest way to get in touch with me.
Sure.
So yeah, if you have, and if you just want to, for those of you who just want to chat about work, feel free to email me. That's always exciting, in this time where we're all kind of confined to our own spaces. We can still talk over Zoom, this wonderful medium called Zoom, and interact in ways that are different and accessible.
Absolutely.
That's great. Yeah, your info is up on the screen right now.
Yeah.
Work, do you have any other questions for Alia?
And I can't think of any. It was a great explanation.
Yeah, that was very thorough.
Yeah.
Well, before we end, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you for making this happen. And that you guys are just the best. And the best wanderers in the world, I have to say.
Near and far, virtual
Yeah,
and reality.
Yeah, and I also want to give a shout out to Tabasco behind the scenes, who's doing all of the technical stuff around this. And to say to all of you who are watching this, come hang out with us on Saturday. We're going to do a really cool gathering, and you get a chance to talk directly with artists. So take advantage of that. You can't be here in person, but we can certainly gather together virtually.
Yeah, everybody wear your sparkly blue hats.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get one now, Kate.
Oh, girl, I've got one for you.
All right. Okay.
I have an extra.
Oh, great.
Fantastic. Well, Alia, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to plan and prepare and show us around your work and explain it in such great detail. Really been wonderful to see it, and it's nice to see half your face.
Yes.
Really,
yes.
Quite lovely. And do you have any parting words for the folks watching?
Well, all I can say is that I'm excited that you're watching and that you're supporting art and artists, and you're continuing to be engaged, because we all need to be, right? And so this is such a fun way of doing it. And I would say stay in touch, everybody.
You heard it here, folks.
Thank you both.
All right, Alia, thank you so very much. You're fantastic.
You both are fabulous.
Yeah, well, we do what we can.
You too.
And now we're going to go check out some other art by popping over to a commercial break. So we'll see y'all back in a bit.
Hi, my name is Joyce McAndrews, multimedia artist and street photographer in Studio 127 in the factory at Equinox in Georgetown. After documenting the rise of the Rainier Square Tower in 2019, I started my new project, Twilight, hitting the Seattle streets to capture our city's bustling neighborhoods as construction continues, photographing the swirl of activity both on and off the street at dusk, revealing the construction reflected on the windows of the restaurants and art galleries. Twilight came to a screeching halt in March when Seattle's quarantine began. My first gallery appointment during COVID was to see Lakshmi Mirhead's show, There Is Always a Before, at J. Reinhardt Gallery in Pioneer Square. I missed seeing Lakshmi in the hall at the factory at Equinox when she was taking classes at Gage. When it was safe for restaurants to reopen, my first visit was to Cafe Press. My next-door neighbor, James O'Hearn, is the chef there. I dined with his partner, Diana, and my friend, Robin Freeman. We ordered the infamous chicken liver terrine with the dried cherry compote, along with the duck confit with French green lentils and black currants. As soon as Governor Inslee's mandate is lifted, I plan to dine at Terra Plata. Here's a shot taken last year when Tamara Murphy's place was packed. I long for those days when I can feast with friends. In the meantime, help support local restaurants by ordering takeout, and during the holidays, join in Feed a Family through the Food is Love project with Terra Plata and send a meal to a family in need. I'm returning to the galleries and restaurants I photographed in 2019 to shoot the boarded facades where once we gathered. I look forward to the new year ahead and a time when we can commingle again. Happy holidays.
All right.
All right.
We are back. We are wandering the halls of the factory at Equinox Studios. Currently looking at some of the stuff on the walls at Edition Studios, who are printmakers and bookbinders and just amazing, beautiful, old school print and bookwork. They're great. You can find them. They have a really great Instagram page, Edition Studios. Strongly recommend looking them up.
Absolutely.
Offering some quality words of wisdom here. Be kind, gentle, playful. Copy that. Will do. And where are we on our way to? We are on our way to see Chris, right?
Chris Sheridan, absolutely.
All right.
133.
133, I think it's down the hallway.
Good.
We'll take a little gander at some art as we move along.
Mm-hmm. Seeing some of last month.
Right, with Willem.
Some of these.
Ooh, your hat looks really good in this hallway.
Oh, I bet it does.
Yeah, that looks great. Look at that. There's the spirit of Equinox right there.
Right? And reflecting off of these like collage pieces as well. And that. And
Oh, yeah.
again, those watercolor schools, I think, were up here.
Yes,
before.
they
Those
were.
Super cool.
We'll have to check in with her whenever we talk to her to see what she's got up her sleeve next. So this is some of Miss Christina and Willem's studio, Photo Effects Studio Gallery. We'll come back and talk with them a little later in the week. And at the moment, we're looking for Chris.
Hey there.
Hey, Chris.
How's it going?
Good.
Trying to figure the best way to book this. Go ahead.
Oh, geez. Okay, thanks.
There, we're running out of space, so.
The microphone.
Oh, sweet. I always feel so official with the microphone. I appreciate that.
You
guys.
look official with a microphone.
Yeah, right on. Cool. I try sometimes.
So how's it going? Will you tell us who you are and what you do?
Yeah, I'm Chris Sheridan. I'm a painter. I've been in Seattle for 15 years. And this is my little space. I normally share it with my wife, but she's at home painting. So I took over the whole thing.
All four walls.
All four walls. Yeah. I have a lot of work in here right now.
Yeah, you do.
Hmm?
Well, show us some of what you've been working on.
Well, when I talked to you guys in the summer, I was getting ready for a big solo show.
That's right.
I was going to have in Oregon. I had the show.
You did.
Yeah, and all the work is back because COVID sucks.
Yeah, you got that.
But it sucks for all of us, right?
That's true. It's a universal second.
Yeah. So most of that work is here. A lot of it's all wrapped up because I don't have enough room. But this was from the show itself, from my solo show. Just a recap, my solo show was about a 2-month art residency that I did in Corpo, Finland. It's a little teeny tiny island in the middle of the Finnish archipelago. Yeah. And I spent 2 months backpacking and taking pictures and doing sketches, hanging out. And then I came back, and all year I've been working on this epic solo show. And it was cool. Like, I'm super proud of the work. Like, it was such an accomplishment to finish all the work. I just wish that people wore masks and then people could go to my show.
Right.
And I wish for all my artist friends that are probably watching this when it comes out, I wish they could have all had their shows too. This is how we make our living, and it just got dashed because masks are such an oppressive thing. I promised I wouldn't get negative, but that was my little bit. Just my little tiny day got there.
Absolutely. Bring it on.
Yeah. But Equinox Studios, we're an amazing community. We all support each other how we can, like you guys doing this amazing thing right now. And so I know that the year sucked for so many of us, but little things like this make it awesome to keep on doing things.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
And it's a good excuse for work and I to get out and actually see some art.
Yeah.
Moderately self-serving.
Yeah, exactly.
And we wear blanky hats.
Oh, you have a great hat.
Yeah. We're trying to keep the spirit alive.
Yeah.
So give us a little bit of a talk through some of your process or some of your color choices. Like how do you make what you see in Finland into photos happen on canvas?
Well, that's a good story, a good question. Anyway, so I have discovered in the last couple of years that artwork isn't anymore about creating paintings of stuff. For me, it has sort of crossed this line from being a want simply to create to a want to learn more about me and how that learning came to be, which I know is kind of selfish, but I go into the forest and I wander around and I check out cool places. And, I originally thought that I was going into the forest to, hunt down these ideas of the origins of stories and myth and folklore and stuff. But the more and more I tromped through the woods, the more and more I started to turn my discovery inwards, maybe inadvertently. I started thinking about past traumas and experiences and all these things. And it just opened up these floodgates of emotions and ideas. And so now for me, artwork is this sort of healing process where I go outside and I live these mental health things, you might say, and experience them and build upon my story and my collection of tales, if you will. And then I come back to the studio, and the way that I process everything that I thought about when I was in the field is by recreating these things. And it sort of becomes this full circle of experiential quality and then processing quality, which gives me this full ability to think about and process who and what I am and what my story is. So it's kind of a driving force now, me getting out than I am in the studio. But sorry, that was a long introduction to your question.
That's quite all right.
Directly to your question. So when I get back to the studio, I have lots of sketches and photos and all kinds of things. And I do charcoal drawings on canvas to match the locations that I really like. They get a bit more expressive than the photos because I want to make it my own image and not just a copy of a photo. And then after the charcoal is on the canvas, I spray coat it and then I waterproof it. And then I do oil paintings on top of that.
Dang.
I start off with a really bright red underpainting. And for me, conceptually, the bright red is sort of like the existence of life, the quality of things that exists in living beings and living sentient beings and places. And so it's kind of like, you can see a little bit of it right in here. For me, the red underneath is sort of like the blood of this place, of this existence. And then I paint on top of that, and some of the red shows up, some of the red disappears. But if you look closely in everything in here, there's a little bit of that red all over the place. And it's sort of what ties together my work stylistically and aesthetically.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Let me have you pause for just 1 second. Tabasco, is that audio okay?
Yeah, it goes. We're not losing you, but it goes in and out a little bit. I
sort of bumbled through that one anyway, so.
So it has been going in out just a touch, but it suddenly sounds like it's doing okay. What if would you swap mics with him? I'm wondering if one mic is not as good as the other, and since Chris is doing most of the talking, it might be better.
Sure.
Oh, I have a little hand one, but that's better. It's right.
Yes, we've been trying to get we've been trying to figure out the best way to do this over the course of 7 months.
Yeah.
Nice. Good teamwork, everybody.
That's
Right.
cool.
All right, let's do this audio test.
Hey there.
How does that sound, Tabasco?
So far, it sounds much better.
Just time for commercial break.
After these messages.
We'll be right back. Oh no, we're still here. We haven't gone anywhere.
Okay, good.
Sweet.
So are you getting better audio now, Tabasco?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Okay, great.
Yeah, okay.
Excellent. Well, we'll just continue from where we were at.
Yeah, so anyway, that's it. Charcoal drying, waterproof and charcoal drying, red underpainting, then oil paint on top of that. And then, well, that's really about it.
And what do you use the same sealing process for your top coat? So
No.
you did a process and you sealed and then painted.
Yeah, so when I do my charcoal drawings, I use matte finished crystal clear on top of it, but that doesn't make it waterproof. That just sort of gets it so it's smudge proof. And so then I've got this trick where I use matte medium in what I call the Ferrari. And the Ferrari is this giant cement trowel. And I load it up with matte medium. And as long as you only go over the canvas once really fast, it doesn't lift out the charcoal at all.
Oh, wow.
But it completely seals in the charcoal. So that way, if you're painting along and you really just destroy a section of it, you can take out some turp and dump it on there and rub it out, and your drawing's still there. So you don't ever lose it. I used to be an illustrator back in the day, and old illustrator techniques with graphite. And I wanted to see how I can make it better with charcoal, and that's how I do it.
That's very tricky. You heard it here first, people.
What's that?
I'm just telling our audience that they heard it here first.
Yeah.
Amazing tricks. So are any of your works for sale, or do you have things, we've got your information up on the screen, so if anybody wants to get a hold of you, they can certainly do that. But
if you look at that sign right there,
oh,
I put it up for it.
Oh, I got it.
I have a website which has everything on it, to an extent, everything on it. And then the shop is my Square online shop that has a holiday sale up right now. That'll be up for the next 2 years. But it's got some original paintings on it. It's got limited edition prints on it. So there's a good selection to choose from.
Great. So, folks, go take a look at Chris's work.
Do it.
Support our artists and our beautiful Equinox studios here. This is gorgeous work.
Thank you very much. Actually, it's kind of, I did it sort of chronologically here. So this was the most recent solo show that I had. It's all Finland work. And then this one was just the remnants of what I had left over from a solo show in 2018. It was all about Iceland and a quick jaunt that I did there. And then this is the last 2 paintings for a solo show I had back in 2017. And this was right at the point where I decided that I didn't want to paint the figure anymore. And then started doing this stuff. And so this is sort of the history of the last 3 years.
That's fantastic. Well, I got to say, it feels really good being in here surrounded by all of your work. It's a very, strangely feels very warm despite all the blue, icy northern hemispheric tones. It's really lovely, Chris. Really, really lovely.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Was there anything else you want to say to our folks out there in the world?
Happy holidays, everybody. I hope you're all healthy and safe, or as good as you can be. And hopefully, if we just wear our masks, we can get beyond all this.
That's right. I believe there's an end in sight.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for showing us around your space. It's a pleasure to be invited in.
Thank you so much for coming out. I really appreciate it. This is awesome.
Yeah. Equinox forever. All right. We're going to head on out the door here. Bye, Chris. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, I almost lost it that time.
There you go. It's so close.
So close. All right.
Welcome back.
And we are going to talk about, are you doing painting right now? Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Christina. I'm with Photo Effect. We are right next door to Joyce. We love her. And we're an artist duo. So I'm half of the artist duo. I mostly do oil painting, although I dabble in watercolors when I get the chance. But I thought tonight I would put these back up for some fun. And I thought I'd kind of walk everybody through what, like, how I make them and like kind of what they're for, because I haven't done a series in a long time, so I thought it'd be fun to like talk about what we're looking at. Because the thing about my paintings and the thing that I love about paint is oil paint especially is paint. Like when stuff looks like it's painted, and the accidents that kind of happen and are like you can do with oil painting, where with layers and layers and patinas where things like come through underneath. So this is actually a little series. When I started to get more into like gestural things, I was looking a lot at Francis Bacon's portraits. I don't know if anyone's seen Francis Bacon's portraits, but they're really weird and they're awesome. Yeah. They look like they're moving and melting, and that was kind of where I got this kind of sense of, if you, like gestural movement, like how can you make something that's sitting still look like it's moving? And I also found that by doing that, you could play around a lot more with these patinas and like what was underneath it, etc. So I thought these were like a great example of that. Just love. And like the other thing about my paintings is people come in all the time to the studios and they're like, oh, you artists, you guys do all this stuff. I can't draw, I can't do this or anything. And the thing that I love the most about art is that you don't have to, like, no one's like an artist, right? I feel like human beings are creative. That's what we do. Like, we love to climb stuff, surf stuff, what can we do this, like build stuff, record stuff. What are we doing? Like draw on walls and stuff. And that's the thing about most of the stuff that you see under was a mistake. It's not something that I sat down and was like, this is gonna, like, right, exactly. And so that's like the thing that I kind of try to convey when people come in and they want to talk about the art, is that like it really is just a layer, like layers and layers of accidents and mistakes. And that's kind of how you build up this movement and this motion and like these beautiful like colors on top of colors. So
awesome.
So that was those.
Yeah. So so there's more than one series, or you're doing?
Oh, I haven't done a series in a long time, so a lot of like these don't really. There isn't like an overarching kind of like this is what I was doing.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. I just thought I'd put up some stuff that like really show gestural movements.
Awesome. I have one that Kay's looking at right now. It's one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, I know. I really like skulls and stuff. Yeah, it's like one of those Venetian like Fat Tuesday. Like yeah, I love those. That's so great. That's on a bucket list, right? Like get out to Venice, like during.
For real.
That would be so great. Do you guys want to come in the studio and see some more stuff? Absolutely. Or okay. Dylan is the other half of this duo. He's running around late, getting ready. So, yeah. So we've seen a couple of these before. I love this one. Am I in the way? I don't know.
No, you're perfect.
Okay.
I'm looking at you.
I love this one because I did a dahlia, which is actually a fall, but what inspired it was we had, the pandemic hit, which threw everything, screw that. But what I found the most amazing was here we all were like stuck in our homes. We were nervous about stuff, trying to figure stuff out in the springtime. And it didn't really matter. Like trees were coming into bloom, flowers were coming, the tulips, like everything was coming out. And so the title of this one is But the Seasons Changed Anyway. And I was kind of like holding on to that because it was this sense of like, I felt stuck. I'm sure everybody else felt stuck. But this feeling of like, but life continues on anyway, and we're gonna like continue to like move forward. Things will change, things will bloom. So yeah. Yeah. And so another thing about my paintings is they're often about like things that feel really innocuous, but they're kind of ubiquitous in our life. And because they're ubiquitous all around us, we don't take a lot of notice of them, but they signify a lot of things. They often will denote like social class or politics. It's kind of like in Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man, where they talk about like a rose means this whole thing. He's got this whole like chapter on what the rose means to him and all the memories that come from it, right? But it's just a rose. And so so I was working with nostalgia before the pandemic a little bit. That's where the cassette tape kind of comes in. Because I was thinking about displacement. We had fires where people were moving, and like we you know, there's still a lot of conflict that unfortunately is kind of like fallen out of the news with the pandemic, like Yemen, Syria, Ukraine, Azerbaijan recently. And so I was thinking about things that like spark nostalgia, because if you have to throw everything that you have in your backpack and just walk away, what are you going to grab? And so this series, I don't know how successful I was with that, because I know what cassette tapes mean to me. It was like a nostalgia for when I was younger, and you'd make mixtapes for the people you liked, and like would sit at the radio and like wait to record, which like people don't do that anymore. We don't even, you know, but I don't know. So I'm still kind of like thinking through like things that might signify like, what are you going to grab? What are you going to leave behind? What are you going to miss if there's a huge upheaval in your life, which kind of runs parallel to the pandemic. But anyway, and then the last thing that I have out for everyone is I did start something new, and I was a little dangerous, you guys. You should never paint in non-paint clothes, because it doesn't matter how careful you are. Yeah. I know, I've got a white shirt on, so like super dangerous, but I couldn't help myself. And so going back to that whole concept of accidents, I left this up because I was in here late last night and I couldn't help myself. I was like, oh, I'll just throw something. I can't have a white board out. And I put way too much turpentine on. And it was a disaster. Like the whole thing that I had, we came back today and you can see like it's like everything that I'd done is kind of melted and gone. But again, that was what I liked about it, is that like there aren't mistakes. Like the whole thing is to like try it. If it comes up as crap, like you will literally build on that. And that's what makes the paintings like so layered, and like why there's so much stuff in them, because it's literally just layers and layers of accidents and mistakes. And then I hope Sam's not watching, but I realized I was throwing the brush around and I got paint on the ceiling. So I'm gonna have to.
Nothing happened, Sam.
I'm gonna have to get on the step ladder.
Tabasco says he is watching.
No, I'll clean it, Sam. I've got turpentine and a step ladder, but yeah. So I looked up today and was like, oh crap. Yes. Yeah, paint dangerously. So that's me. I just blathered on like way too long. I'm embarrassed now. So yeah.
And I like the new work in progress. If I hadn't known that there was too much turpentine, I'd be like, oh, that's a cool effect.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't know either. That's the thing. I was like, let's see what happens when I do this. And then I was like, oh, that was too much. I should dial it back next time. So, and this kind of goes along with, if people have been watching some of the previous streams, I was doing a lot with paper boats, because they felt fragile, because I just feel like there's so much stuff right now that everything feels fragile. And so I thought like a bird. Yeah, I'm gonna run with that. I'm gonna see how that comes out. I'm not entirely sure yet, but
very cool. Small,
delicate things.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Any closing words you have? We've got your information on the screen.
Yes. Yeah, you can always buy anything you want. But so if you go to our website, which is on the screen, or you can message us through Instagram on our account there. You can grab anything from us. We do have prints. We sell magnets. We've got mugs. Yeah. So we've got, we like to make our art accessible. Yeah. Because sometimes, you need some art on your mug, or you want something on the fridge, magnets, prints. So yeah, we're swimming in merchandise over here.
Yeah, and I think I, like many people, have been looking for stuff to mail to my family.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Because that's a real thing. I can't just this antique lamp that Mom would love. I'll just pop that in FedEx for like $300 shipping.
Yeah.
No, that's
Tough.
not gonna happen. So
tough. I
magnets
know.
and stuff like that. Mugs are pretty shippable.
Tiny. Yeah. We got styrofoam boxes that the mugs go in. I know styrofoam. I didn't say that. That's how they send them to us. But if I can get something biodegradable, we're working on our vendors.
Totally.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for everyone that's come out digitally for Equinox. We miss you guys so much. Can't wait until next year.
Yeah, food and fire and people.
Yes, lots of people. miss the gathering.
Absolutely. Well, good stuff. I think we're gonna go to a commercial break real quick.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Yeah, thanks for coming in.
We're checking out more of your prints and everything.
I can see that.
Online.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Hi, Anna.
Hey. Thank you.
Better now than to wait for the microphone before I jump in.
Yeah, we've got you all trained.
All right, cool. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you
well,
loud
welcome
and
back.
clear.
Great.
Awesome. Welcome back. Yeah,
Thank you.
So excited you guys are here during some daylight because it always helps with glass.
Yeah.
Asking for direct sunlight would be, too much for Seattle winter, but I think it must be like in winter, it just doesn't quite get over the building. But yeah, I can tell you a little bit about this body of work. Does that?
That sounds perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
Let us know. And will you tell us who you are?
That would be a good start.
Sure,
You're
let's
right.
go for that.
I'm Anna. Anna Guarneri. Yeah, my info is probably on the screen. Right?
It is.
Yeah, so I work in glass and do some drawing and painting and other things as well. But those are mostly what's here today is the glass and the drawings.
Great.
Yeah, so this body of work, I'm calling it stacked for, visually obvious reasons. But also, I'm also interested in the sort of other meanings of stacked. I've been thinking about that, especially this year, like odds are stacked, juries are stacked.
Right.
So it felt like a sort of appropriate for a body of work that's made in 2020. Yeah, and it's, I continue to play with abstract forms and colors and, some of the work has kind of, references but that are ambiguous. So they kind of look like they might be of something, but what that is isn't always clear. Right. And I found that I tend to be kind of drawn to that kind of work. At least it keeps me interested, that ambiguity of subject matter. And, my background is I did more sort of figurative work. So that's probably coming into play, even though these are abstract pieces as well. Yeah. And, when I started this back and forth working, I sort of got back into glass after a long time away, and I had been drawing and painting, and I thought it would be sort of like the painting and drawing were studies for the glass pieces.
Right.
And it's ended up being some of that, but also some true back and forth, like dialogue between the mediums. Like I'll, in some cases, make a glass piece first and then draw or paint from it, which I didn't expect, which is cool. I think because glass is such a sort of changing, luminous medium, the pieces are always changing in different lights. And I trying to sort of capture that in paint or draw from sort of inspiration from that, I think is an ongoing challenge.
I bet.
In a good way.
Sure.
So that's the bulk of what this stuff is about.
So are all of the pieces, the glass here and the things that workers are showing on your wall, all part of the Stacked series?
Yeah, pretty much. It sort of started with these, and I have more panels that are sort of in this grid-like composition over here. So it sort of started with that, and then started to morph into variations on that. Yeah, but I see connections mostly. There's like gravity, weight that comes across, I think, in all of these, and there's some sort of sense of shapes, sitting or overlapping each other. That's a kind of common thread, I guess.
How long does it take you to either paint a piece or do a piece of glass? I'm sure they're vastly different, but what's your rough?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know. Like some, I'll just, this is probably true for so many people. Like some just happen, just like sort of pour out in a few hours, and others I like return to again and again and again. So some of these works are like, they still might be works in progress. I keep making changes, and that's kind of why I keep things up on the wall. The glass has been more of a technical challenge, as I've really been interested in making work that's on stands.
Right.
So these, I'm casting concrete, which is, has its technical aspects, I guess. I'm not consistent yet in doing that well, and experimenting with how to position the glass and also the proportions. I've considered different treatments that I'll keep experimenting with, like putting wax on the concrete or even painting it, maybe using encaustic, sort of pigmented wax to do that. Yeah, so those are pretty time consuming right now, but hopefully once I get into more of a routine and work out some of that technical stuff, I think I'll be able to be a little more efficient with them.
And are you creating the glass, like are you coloring the glass? Are you?
Oh, good question. Yeah, so no, I'm using glass that I buy as mostly as scraps from people who are doing bigger projects. Mm-hmm. So there's various stained glass shops in our region. We're lucky to have multiple. And the glass sources vary hugely. There's, a bunch of different makers. Some local, like it's awesome here in Seattle. I think we have the last hand-blown sheet glass company in the U.S. is Fremont. So that's super cool. I'm lucky enough to find some of their scraps at retail stores, that kind of thing.
Right.
And I've had a couple opportunities to buy like glass from estate sales.
Oh, wow.
Glasses, like stained glass, I guess, was really popular in the 70s, and a lot of the makers have gone out of business. So there's a lot of, I'm sort of geeking out on a lot of vintage glass recently. So there's certain pieces where I'm like, oh, but that has that piece that I'll never get again because it was discontinued or it's from the 70s or whatever.
Right.
So that makes each of these pieces pretty special because a lot of the glass is not currently manufactured or because it's scrap glass, I've tried to source some and I can't find what it is again. So each piece is unique, very unique.
The colors are beautiful.
Thank you.
Really vibrant. I'm not a brown girl. Brown's not my thing, but let's swoop my camera over here. I love the color compositions of this piece. It's so autumnal and I just like that word as well.
Thank you.
But I'm really, bravo, you made me like brown.
Oh, well thanks. I'm so glad. It's another fun, challenging thing about working with scrap glasses. You know, recently there was a really big project that someone did with all these neutrals and browns. And so I had all these small pieces and I was like, this is so not my palette. But it's nice to be sort of forced once in a while to make use of colors that you maybe wouldn't gravitate towards normally, right?
Right.
I don't think I'm a brown person. but it's, it's cool to have that as a challenge and try to make work that's still visually interesting.
Whew, someone's at the front door. Yeah, here, we're going to trade you places here so you can grab these guys again too. So is your work for sale? Or if people are looking for commissions or in any way want to throw you money for something?
yeah. I mean, money's great. So the standing pieces, I've had luck recently selling them to shipping them. So that's an option, which is, a challenge for the bigger pieces to ship the panels.
Sure.
But I can sell those regionally and eventually I'll figure out a good method for shipping. But these small guys I've been sending to folks and they're for sale. If folks are interested in the watercolors and other things, my website has some work on it. I have other small pieces that are sort of little, paintings that are more affordable. So certainly open to inquiries. I don't tend to make sun catchers, sort of hanging pieces, but you can see there's just a couple here that are sort of more affordable options if you're looking for, gifts for the holidays, that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I'm so excited to see all this up, and I'm so happy we got here in the day and in the sunlight. It really does make a difference.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thanks for making time for it. I'll hope to put more work up in the hallway. Right now, there's just a set of small paintings that you all have probably seen before, but those are a pretty specific reference. They're like an aerial view self-portrait, sort of looking down at your own body, and that's referencing. There are these Paleolithic Venus figurines. Forgive me, this is really obscure, but I promise I'm going somewhere. I'm sure you've seen them before. They're kind of like just distorted images, almost faceless, of these that were made, so long ago. And there's a theory that they're actually self-portraits, like women carving their own bodies. And I was sort of blown away by that idea.
Right.
So that series is kind of based on, inspired by that. And you'll see they're kind of fun and celebratory and even have elements of seeming devotional. And I would love to translate them into stained glass. So that's like a dream project. So if you know of any, grant opportunities for that one.
Yeah.
Because, with the history of stained glass in our sort of Western culture, and it's a pretty loaded medium, but has that kind of religious and devotional connotation.
Right, of course.
So it seems like a interesting way to make stained glass work with that kind of figurative content.
Hey, Work, do you want to go check out what's in the hallway and show us some images of that since we're chatting about it? Well, that's great. I will certainly keep my ears open. If anybody else out there knows of grant ideas,
yeah, let me
information's
know.
at the bottom of the screen. Anna would love to pursue this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that, that's my only, I think, directly figurative work right now. But I mean, honestly, my sources, like, I'll find myself taking photographs of things that are so varied, and I think a lot of abstract artists do that. Like, anything from like the pile of trash that I see on the side of the road, or certainly like bodies are interesting, and sort of shapes that come up for me in my work. Yeah, recently, what was I? Oh, sandbags. Like, I was sort of obsessed with the construction site, like the Amazon, whatever they're building over there.
Whatever they're building over
like
there.
Sandbags and pile, I guess goes with the piles and stacks theme.
Right.
But it's interesting. Like, I won't, things that, maybe are regular or pretty normal in people's, like, we see every day, but when you really look at them, I start to think that they look so absurd, and so often that kind of thing will end up being kind of making its way into the work. Even if it's not super direct. Yeah. So
love it.
I'm talking your ear off here.
You are doing just great. You are doing just great. Well, Tabasco, are you seeing a little bit of flickering on the video there? Just checking. I'm getting a little, I don't know if it's just me that's getting a little gray flicker. Oh, that's better. Oh, that's better.
Kind of going in and out.
It was a little strobe effect.
Oh yeah, well,
yeah,
you could pretend that's on purpose.
Exactly. Thank you. I appreciate that. Awesome. Well, do you have anything else you want to say to folks before we wander on down the hallway?
I think that's it. No, I'm excited to be part of Equinox, and oh my gosh, thank you so much for doing these tours. The virtual version, and yeah, we're lucky to be part of it.
Yeah, well, we can't wait to really do it up in style next year, but for the moment, we're going to have as much fun as we can like this.
Double the party next year, right?
That's right. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be the very, very open house.
Yeah, let's do it. All right.
Well, thanks so much, Anna.
Yes, thank you both.
Greatly appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, have a good rest of your tour.
Thanks. Bye. Welcome back.
Welcome back. I'm not super familiar with the periodic table, but this one looks cooler than usual.
It's pretty sweet, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, check this out. It's elemental, man. I couldn't resist that. Sorry, everybody. So the person who made this amazing table behind us is Sid Shira. She is a potter and Reiku mastermind. And we're going to go see her right now.
Woo.
Conveniently, just up these stairs. A little bit of art, a little bit of bathroom, and a little bit of Sid. Hi, Sid. So nice to see you. Work has a microphone for you. Ooh, look how lovely it is in here. Oh, it smells good. Yeah.
In my ears. Oh, in my shirt?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's perfect. Cool. So, hi, Sid. I, of course, know who you are, but will you tell all of our delightful watchers who you are and what it is you do here at Equinox?
Hello. I'm Sid Shira, and I make, as you can see, porcelain tulip votives.
They're so gorgeous.
I'm a ceramic artist, and I'm oh, someone's out there.
Oh, we have sound support.
Okay, whatever that means. Cool.
This is Claire. She's helping us make sure everything sounds okay.
Hi, Claire. So yeah, this is my year to get a website and go online and do online sales. So I'm concentrating on these porcelain tulips right now. They're a super duper holiday type of deal. And they're sort of a gifty type thing that women like to give each other. And men like to give women them. I would love some men to give some men some ones too, but next year, there's next year.
You hear that, gentlemen? Buy your man friend some beautiful, beautiful pottery.
Yeah. So they're porcelain.
Sorry.
That's okay. The translucency, the light, the tea lights shine through because it's thin in those places. So they're each one is sculpted and handmade individually. They're not mold made. I make each one by hand. So they all look a little bit different, just like people. And
just like all of us, right?
Just like all of us. And what else do you want to know? Let's see. I'm kind of nervous.
What's your process for making these? Like they're not thrown, right?
No, I have an extruder die. See that that metal tube right there?
Can you catch that metal tube there, Work?
This thing on the wall right there. So I had the guys here make it's like a spritz, it's like the cookie dough comes out in the shapes.
Oh, I love those, right?
Yeah, so I had Keith make me one, and then so it comes out in a column, and then I sculpt the bottom on it and make it look all lively, I pinch it and pull it.
Yeah.
Like blowing in the wind type of tulips. So yeah, I'm calling my work wildlife folk art. So these are wildlife tulips folk art.
Well, you have a big trend of that in the work that you do. You have a lot of flower imagery and plant imagery.
I do, and that will be growing into my website pretty soon. So
nice.
And yeah,
your website is on the screen currently, so all y'all should go check out Sid's work.
Yeah, and I will also, when COVID is over, I will start giving raku workshops again.
Yeah, so tell us that for people who don't know what raku is. Will you explain that?
Oh yeah, raku is well, down at the hall there's this periodic table.
We were just standing in front of it, as a matter of fact.
So all this work that gives crackles like that. See the crackles? It was a little hard to see.
Yeah, we got it.
Yeah. So that's what raku gives you, and it's an hour-long firing outdoors, and then I take it out of the kiln and we plunge it into a bucket of sawdust and smoke it. So nothing ever comes out alike, and it's very dramatic. It's very I don't know, it's a little hard to like this. It's a little hard to see that in the light. It's not anyway. It's a pomegranate. It has crackles on it. So yeah. So it no two pieces are ever alike, and it's a lot of fun. It's fun. It's a fun thing to do in a group, because when you pull your pieces out of that smoking bucket of ashes, the colors change as they cool down, and it's like you see this transformation into this piece that is. It just doesn't look at all remotely like what it looked like when you went in, and then you scrub off the soot and the colors emerge, and it's very fun. It's very dramatic.
I've seen you doing these classes. So what's the general timeline and cost for those? Like, I see people week over week. So
right, you come if you do the full meal deal, you come once for about 3 hours and you make something, and I show you how to make something it's kind of bomb proof. nothing too elaborate. We build it with slabs, and then the next time you come about a week later, and then we do a 3 or 4 hour firing.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's going to cost somewhere between $125 and $150 to do that.
What a deal. What a great experience.
No, it's a great thing to do as a party or a gift or a couples thing, or you know, it's very bonding because it's so ridiculously dramatic that you all go through it's like going on a really hard hike.
Well, you're going into the fire together.
Yeah, we're working directly with fire. And there's the possibility of great suffering, but I make sure that doesn't happen. So it's very fun. It's very fun.
So unlike the Iron Monkeys, where we make them suffer in the fire, you actually give them enjoyment in the fire.
Yeah, we make you take a step back. Yeah.
So I know that we can't do that during COVID times, but if someone was interested in that in the future times, can they send you an email via your website? And
Yes, I will. Right now, I have a section on my website called Works, and it's I'm really learning how to do a website, and right now there's Latin written in it because it's a placeholder, but I will be describing the transfer. It's called Transformational Raku because it is transformational, and hopefully you hook on to the little bit of the transformational energy because you're working directly with fire.
That's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, your email is up on the screen. So folks, if this is something that sounds interesting, like an interesting thing for you to do, definitely send Sid an email. And also, let's talk about these amazing, what are you calling them?
Well, here's the name.
Yeah, I'm clearly forgetting. I've got a lot going on in my brain.
Radhigi tulip votives. Their higi means cozy.
Right, in Danish.
Hygge.
Yeah.
And they're rad. And
I just learned that word this year.
I know, it's a good word, tulip votive. So anyway, they're just tulip votives.
And what's the general cost for these?
They're $55.
Perfect.
And you can buy them through the shop, and I will mail them to you. And that will cost $10 of shipping plus taxes. Or if you would like to Venmo me, I will meet you here, of both of us masked. There's enough space in here, and I will.
There is, yeah.
Yeah, I'll put out a bunch, and you can pick one, and I'll wrap it up for you, and that way you don't have to pay any shipping.
That's great.
So you want to know my Venmo? I don't know.
Yes, we definitely want to know your Venmo. Let's see here.
It's at Sydney-Shira.
At Sydney-Shira. Nice. So y'all get your 55 Venmo bucks out.
Yeah.
Send them on over to Sid here.
And I think a Venmo includes your email, and so we will then talk via email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
And so I'm here at Equinox, and I decided to, I'm having lots of people come one at a time and pick something up. So I think it's safe.
Well, we think it's so important. It's one of the reasons we're doing this is to give people opportunities to support our local creative forces. But
if you feel freaked out, I totally get that too, and I will ship it to you. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I need to come buy some of these. I hope no one that I'm planning on buying Christmas gifts for is watching right now, because I got some people in mind.
Well, they're all individual, so you can pick one that looks like someone, it's like it gives you that vibe of that person.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely do that.
Yeah. So when COVID is over, I will resume my life as a ceramic art teacher. So I'm going to do a thing where we make mandalas.
Oh, beautiful.
On a big platter. That'll be a thing to come in and make a mandala. So I have a little bit of woo in me. So I'm capitalizing on the woo here. I might as well just admit it.
Yeah, just go for the woo.
Yeah.
Unabashedly, the woo is good.
Yeah. Plus woo rhymes with raku, so we call it woo raku. A little bit.
Wow.
If you want to.
Whoa. I mean, okay, I guess I will.
Yeah. Only some people will want to call it that, but
I will call it whatever you want. Sid.
Okay. Okay.
Woo raku it is.
Okay. Or transformational raku.
No, it's so beautiful. And there's something really important about working with your hands. I think, especially coming out of this COVID place, we've all been like in front of screens and, watching all the Netflix, to have the opportunity to make something new with your hands, to learn a new skill.
Well, and
clay is hopeful.
Clay is super yin. It just receives everything that you do. So I often find people will start, men and women, will just it collectively it's grounding, because it's earth, and then people will just start talking about something, it like the unconscious just kind of erupts out of it. So I make a no-fail safe zone to make stuff, and that's people are just dying to work with their hands. It's just super fun. I mean, hands are made for making things. So yeah, it's very fun.
That is absolutely
kind of liberating.
I can't wait until we get to do it again.
Yeah, well, enough people will have I think next summer I'll be able to.
I think next summer too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enough people will have a vaccine, or I don't know how that's going to roll out, but that's what my hope is.
Sticking with art.
Yeah, sticking with art, baby.
Well, Sid, what do you have to say? What are some last things you want to say to the people out there, for holiday wishes, for healthy wishes, anything you have?
Oh, that's so nice thing to ask. Yeah, I've had a remarkably. I got COVID end of last January, and so
you're an early adopter.
Yeah, I was an early adopter. And I got real sick, but after that I got real grateful. So there's in this world where we're all being twisted and tied up in knots. It's not just the pandemic, we're like changing out of the Trump era and into a hopefully more sustainable era. And I just have great hope that if we can liberate ourselves from monetary drive, and we can share a little bit of the wealth. That's what I'm into, is kind of like liberation ceramics. That's what I want, is to have people experience what they can do. And it's a liberating thing for oneself to create.
It is. We are creators.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I'm always so happy to see. I mean, normally most of your face, but even just half of your face is really nice to see.
Oh, behind glasses too. I forgot I have glasses
that's
on.
A hat too. You only get a little sliver of me. But Sid, I'm always so grateful for your creativity and your participation and your welcoming spirit and letting us into your space.
Thank you.
And all y'all, go buy some of this shit for the people you love, because it's made with love.
It is.
And we need to support our artists.
These are red Hagee. Thanks, Mom. That's the full name. Thanks, Mom, because my mom's spirit was on my shoulder. She was a designer, and she guided me through the whole thing. So, yeah, they are made with love. Mom helped. Mom helped design them.
Thanks, Mrs. Sid's mom.
Yeah, yeah, from the great beyond.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, happy holidays to you.
Yes, and a COVID curtsy to you.
Yes, my friends are doing butt hugs now. We're like.
Okay, well, we're not doing that on camera. Thank you anyway. Yeah.
But it's always great to see you. Everybody sits contact
right
at the bottom of the screen right now. Reach out to her, put some hope on your palette, and come make some Reiku with her a little bit later on.
Yeah, cool.
And I can't wait till I see you again, Sid.
Right. Thank you. Thanks you guys for coming in. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and
right.
Because we can't handle too much more awesome in person right now, we're gonna have to do a commercial break.
Okay. Okay. Bye.